Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear student. Today is the last lecture, and we will discuss about the philosophy of morality and ethics. In previous lecture, we have learned about the Islamic philosophy, its origin, and the contribution of the different Islamic philosophers. So I'm not going to giving you the summary of a previous lecture because in our session we have already discussed in detail, and lecture we have already discussed in detail the philosophy of Islamic philosophy, its origin, and the contribution of Muslim philosophers and Islamic philosophy. So this is the last lecture, and this lecture is very important because our one CLO is related to this lecture, and this lecture is also important, and this is what we have already learned when in previous semester in professional ethics, uh, different uh, ethical philosophies and theories. We have learned about the universalism, we have learned about the relativism, we have learned about the deontology and different concepts related to the ethics as well. So this is relevant to all those theories which we have already learned in previous semester in professional ethics course. Morality. Morality speaks of a system of behavior in regards to the standards of right and wrong behavior. The word carries concept of moral standards with regard to behavior, number one, and number two, the moral responsibility referring to our conscience. Moral responsibility referring to our conscience, moral identity, one who is capable of right or wrong action. So, simply uh, regards to our behavior means the nature of human being, and referring to our conscious uh, means that related to our uh, beliefs, that related to the sense of right and wrong, and simply the morality identity, one who is capable of right or wrong action. Common synonyms include ethics, principles, virtue, and goodness. So these are the common synonyms of the morality and our behavior. Morality describes the principles that govern our behavior. Morality relates to our behavior on three levels. Number one, to ensure fair play and harmony between individuals. Uh, so, this is also related to our actions. Help to make us good people in order to have good society. So, this is also related to our actions. When we do good, then the society will be good. When we do wrong, then there will be destruction in the society. So, the society will be in and will disturb and will be in danger. To keep us in a good relationship with the power that created us. So it means that if your behavior is good, then it means if your character is good, it means that you are submitting yourself to the will of your creator, to the will of your Lord, to the will of your Allah, and you are obeying and following all those rules which are prescribed by your creator and your sustainer and your Lord. Morality and our conscience. Morality impacts on our everyday decisions. Conscience is a matter of our hearts. That concepts of right, wrong, and fairness are programmed in each of us. Our decisions are based solely on our need to survive. Sometimes it is based on learned behavior, and sometimes and the mostly the behaviors of our inner self. That you can say that these are the behavior of a nature of human being, because the character, the right and wrong character is related to the to our inner self, what we have think. So if we think positively, then then definitely we will do a positive act, and if we thinks negatively, and our thoughts are negative, then the actions of our body will be automatically negative, and it will affect the society. So our conscious is related to our hearts, our beliefs, our imans, and our thoughts and our feelings. So what we think, we thought, and then we acted upon our thoughts. So this is a natural phenomena. The morality is related to the nature, human nature. So that's why it is called the our right and wrong action. That's why it is called the good character and the bad character. Ethics and moral philosophy, a branch of philosophy that involves systemizing, systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong conduct. The term ethics is derived from an ancient Greek word ethos, means habit. The branch of philosophy, zoology, comprises the sub branches of ethics and aesthetics, each concerned with the values. So the ethos means the habit. So this is what we have I have discussed in previous slides, that this is related to our nature, and habit is related to our nature. When we do acted on a specific act, and we oftenly do this, and this will become automatically a habit, and your habit of your good character and your habit of your good action will be considered a good ethics and good moral values. And it when your actions or wrong actions, and a habit of your wrong actions will be considered as the bad character or the wrong actions, and it will affect not only on yourself but also on the others, and it will affect the society as well. So this is the philosophy of morality and philosophy of ethics. Simply, ethics. Roosevelt Currer states that standard definition of ethics have typically include such phrases as the science of the ideal human character or the science of moral duty. So this is the things, the natural, you already know, we have already learned, and we have already discussed a lot in professional ethics subjects, that we have discussed three main theories about the character and moralities. Ethics seeks to resolve questions of human morality by defining concepts such as good and evil, right and wrong, virtue and vice, justice and crime. Moral philosophy is also related to the fields of moral psychology, descriptive ethics, and value theory. So this is simple. Cambridge Dictionary of Philosophy states that the word ethics is commonly used interchangeably with morality, and sometimes used more to mean the moral principles of a particular tradition, group, or individual. So most people confuse ethics with behaving in accordance with social conventions, religious beliefs, and the laws, and don't treat ethics as a stand-alone concept. So this is the Cambridge Dictionary definition of the philosophy of ethics. So what they say, that most people confuse ethics with behaving in accordance with social conventions, religious beliefs, and the laws, and don't treat ethics as a stand alone concept. So this is not a lone concept. This is related to the your religious belief. It is related to the social norms as well. This is related to the society. This is related to the belief. This is related to the religion. This is related to the right and wrong action as well. Major areas in ethics, meta-ethics concerning the theoretical meaning and reference of moral propositions and how their truth values can be determined. So in meta-ethics, we discussed about the this is the areas of the philosophy of ethics. So uh, um, ethics or philosophy of ethics subdivided in more branches like meta-ethics, and in which we discussed about the moral proposition and how their truth values can be determined. So the normative ethics concerning the practical meanings of determining a moral course of action. So in normative ethics we discussed what is the practical implication of the moral values of right and wrong action. So applied ethics concern what is obligated in a specific situation or a particular demand of action. What is obligated in means what is obligated, what is obliged, and what is committed in particular domain of actions. So in applied ethics, as in the name of the ethics is applied, so it is the applications of a specific action in a particular domain. Metaethics asks how we understand, know about, and what we mean. When we talk about what is right and what is wrong, a meta-ethical question is abstract and relates to a wide range of more. A meta-ethical question is abstract and relates to a wide range of more specific practical questions. For example, is it ever possible to have a secure knowledge of what is right and wrong? Would be a meta-ethical question. So, so this type of questions in metaethics and inquiry of such type of questions. So these are the philosophical questions related to the metaethics, the branch of morality and moral and ethical philosophy. Metaethics is always accompanied philosophical ethics. Aristotle implies that less precise knowledge is possible in ethics than in other spheres of inquiry, and he regards ethical knowledge as depending upon habit and uh, accultural, acculturation, acculturation, acculturation in a way that makes it distinctive from other kinds of knowledge. Acculturation means related to the culture, and and you can say the culture of a specific society in a way that makes it distinctive from other kinds of knowledge. Study of how we know in ethics divided into cognitivism and non-cognitivism, similar to the contrast between descriptivists and non-descriptivists. So this is related to the cognition and non-cognition, and similarly, this is also the contrast between the descriptives and the non-descriptives as well. Non-cognitivism is claimed that when we judge something as right or wrong, this is neither true or false. We may, for example, we be only expressing our emotional feelings about these things. So this is their point of view, that they think so that when we judging something, we are evaluating someone, then we are showing our feelings. So we, according to non cognitivism, that we are judging the people on the basis of our feelings and our understanding about these things. Cognitivisms be referred as the claim when we talk about right or wrong, we are talking about the matters of fact. So, this is the cognitivism's claims about the ethics as a journal as a whole, that the concept of right or wrong and the concept of good character and bad character is universal. So what we generally say that if we are saying that mm, mm, the breaking of promise is general phenomena and is everywhere in every society, in every religion, and stealing, killing human being, and defaming someone and deceiving someone. So these are the basic moral values, and these are the basic characters and right and wrong. So these are prevalent in every society, in every religion, in every civilization. So the cognitivisms can be referred as the claim when we talk about right wrong. We are talking about the matters of fact. Normative ethics is the study of ethical action. It is the branch of ethics that investigates the set of questions that arise when considering how one ought to act, morally speaking. Is distinct from metaethics because it examines standards for the rightness and wrongness of action, while metaethics studies the meaning of moral language and metaphysics of moral facts. Also distinct from descriptive ethics, as the latter is an empirical investigation of people's moral beliefs. To put it another way, descriptive ethics would be concerned with determining what proportion of people believe that killing is always wrong. So this is related to the branch of ethics philosophy in which they examine the standards of rightness and wrongness of action. So that's why it is you can say the distinction from descriptive ethics as the latter is an investigating. And finally, when we say that the killing is always wrong, and that's how we uh, mm, examining the rightness and wrongness of action, that is universal. I already discussed it. Normative ethics is concerned with whether it is correct to hold such a belief, hence sometimes called prescriptive ethics. Is a moral theory was to study what makes actions right or wrong. At the turn of 20th century, moral theories became more complex beyond the boundaries of right and wrong. During the middle of century, study of normative ethics declined as metaethics grew in prominence due to intense linguistic focus in analytic philosophy and popularity of logical positivism. Virtue ethics describes the character of a moral agent as a driving force. Used to describe the ethics of Socrates, Aristotle, and other Greek philosophers, knowledge bearing on human life was placed highest, while all other knowledge were secondary. So, this is the claim of Socrates and Aristotle about the virtue of the ethics, and they said that somebody is having the knowledge, so he is more ethical and more having good character, while the other person, and while all other knowledges are secondary. Self knowledge was considered necessary for success and inherently an essential good. A self aware person will act completely within his capabilities, while an ignorant person will encounter difficulty. So, when a person having knowledge, he will be act completely within his capability, while an ignorant person will encounter difficulty. People must aware of every fact relevant to his existence. If he wishes to attain self-knowledge, people will naturally do what is good. Evil and bad actions are the result of ignorance. So this is commonly and generally says when somebody doing wrong action in the society, and people oftenly said that he is ignorant person, he is not a learned person, and he is mm, living in a forest and he don't know the civilization. So whatever the name you called it, so uh, this is related to our consciousness, conscience, that that our inner self, related to the human nature. When somebody do wrong action, we give them such names like he is ignorance, that incivilized, that he is not a learned person, so he is like a wild man. So like thi- this Aristotle, 323 to 384 BC, posited an ethical system termed self-realizationism. 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 In his view, when a people acts in accordance with his nature and potential, he will do good and be content. Uh, Stoicism, and the sto- Stoic philosopher posited that the greatest good was contentment and serenity, peace of mind or apathesia. Highest value, self mastery over one's desire and emotions leads to spiritual peace, the unconquerable will. So, this is the different terms used by different philosophers about the value and the ethics. So, according to Aristotle, Aristotle says that this is the ethical system means the self-realization, while the Stoic philosophers posited that the greatest good was contentment and serenity, peace of mind. So they said that good action related to the your peace of mind, highest value, self mastery over one desire and emotion lead to spiritual peace, the unconquerable will. Hedonism. Hedonism posits that principal ethics is maximizing pleasure and minimizing pain. It states that the most ethical pursuit maximizes pleasure and happiness for the most people. Uh, Cyrenaic hedonism, founded by Aristippus of Cyrene, Cyrenaic supported immediate gratification or pleasure. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. No concern with the future, uh, uh, present dominating for pleasure. So, this is the Greek philosophy and related to a sensual hedonist Greek school of philosophy, and it was founded in the 4th century BC, supposedly by Aristippus of Cyrene. Uh, there were many principles of the school and believed have been formulated by his grandson of the same name, Aristippus, and so this was called as the Cyrenaic hedonism, and their concept is about that the they think that the Cyrenaics taught that the only intrinsic good is pleasure, which meant not just the absence of pain, but positively enjoyable sensation. So they think about that only about this world. They don't think about the consequences of your actions. They don't think about the future. They don't think about the accountability. They just think that only about the player, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. No concern with the future, present dominating for player. Epicureanism ethics is a hedonist form of virtue ethics, presented argument that player correctly understood will coincide with virtue. He rejected extremism of the Cynics. So this is also a theory, philosophical theory of morality, and they presented argument that the player correctly understood but coincide with virtue. He rejected the extremism of Senex. State of uh, consequentialism, also known as moist consequentialism, is an ethical theory that evaluates the moral worth of an action based on how much it contributes to the basic goods of a state. A remarkable, sophisticated version based on a plurality of intrinsic good taken as constitutive of human welfare, the player of moral good. Consequentialism refers to the moral theories that hold the consequences of a particular action from the basis of any valid moral judgment about that action. A moral right action is the one that produces a good outcome or consequences. This theory is weight given to the consequences in evaluating the rightness and wrongness of the action. Utilitarianism holds that the morally correct action is the one that produces the best outcome for all people affected by the action. So we have already discussed uh, consequentialism and utilitarianism in our previous uh, subject, professional ethics. Deontology, we have already learned about the deontology, so let revise here. An approach to ethics that determines goodness or rightness from examining acts or the rules and duties that the person doing the act strove to fulfill. Acts may be considered as right even if the act produces a bad consequences. So this is the duty based theory. So people have duty to act in a way that does those things that are inherently good as acts. People intentions are not important, so they think so that and I we have learned with a lot of examples the theory of deontology. So they are concerned about the actions and the result of the action, not the intention. So if your action goes the wrong result, so it would consider wrong. Pragmatic ethics associated with pragmatists holds that moral correctness evolves similarly to scientific knowledge socially over the course of many lifetimes. Thus, we should prioritize social reform over attempts to account for consequences, individual virtue or duty. So, they think so that this is the morality is also based on the science or the knowledge of science. Ethics of care. Uh, Contrast with more well-known ethical methods such as consequentialist theories and deontological in that it seeks to incorporate traditionally feminized virtue and values that uh, propo- uh, proponents of care ethics con- content content are absent in such tradition model of ethics. These values include the importance of emphatic relationship and compassion. Role, role ethics, an ethical theory based on family roles. So, unlike virtue ethics, role ethics is not individualistic. Morality is derived from a person's relationship with their community. So, role ethics is concerned with the your base, your generations, your society. So, this is role ethics. Anarchist ethics, an ethical theory based on the studies of anarchist thinkers. An anarchist ethics is large, vague field that can depend on different historical situation and different anarchist thinkers. Most of the anarchist ethics schools are based on three fundamental ideas: solidarity, equality, and justice. So, ethics is like narrated as a sort of social instinct through history. Postmodern ethics, the 20th century saw a remarkable expansion and evolution of critical theory following on earlier Marxist theories, efforts to locate individual within large structural frameworks of ideology and action. So, in postmodern ethics, and there are you will find the development in the ethics and the norms and the cultures, and you will find different values and different ethics, and on the basis of these values and ethics, the the morality is defined. Human relationship to knowledge and objective reality. Ethics must study the complex and relational traditions, conditions of actions. Obligations that are present themselves is necessary to be fulfilled but are neither forced on one or uh, enforceable. Applied ethics is a discipline of philosophy that attempts to apply ethical theory to real life situations. Discipline has many specialized fields such as engineering ethics, bioethics, geoethics, and business ethics. Is used in some aspects of determining public policy as well as by individual facing difficult decisions. So, applied ethics is implemented in every field of life, in every branch of knowledge, in every either it is related to politics, related to economic, related to individual life, related to family life, related to the business, related to the marketing, related to managerial skill, leadership, biology, physics, maths, engineering, transportation, commerce, trade, in every field, and this is that's why it is implemented and applied, and rules and regulations are defined. Particular fields of application. Bioethics is the study of controversial ethics brought about by advances in biology and medicines. We have already discussed in professional ethics, the and with different examples in the field of engineering, in the field of biology. We have given the examples of the doctors, their ethics, their morality, and concerned with the questions that arises in the relationship among the life sciences, biotechnology, medicine, politics, law, and philosophy. Business ethics is a form of applied ethics that examines ethical principles and moral or ethical problems that arise in business environment, has both normative and descriptive dimensions. Machine ethics issue in machine ethics will likely drive advancement in understanding of human ethics by forcing us to address gaps in modern normative theory, aid by providing a platform for experimental investigation. Military ethics are considered with the questions regarding the application of force and the ethos of the soldier, and are often understood as applied professional ethics. Just war theory is generally seen to set the background terms of the military ethics. So there are also rules and regulation and ethics in war while you are in fighting, while you are in the field of uh, in the field of military and in the field of war. So the best rules and best ethics defined by our Holy Prophet ﷺ and the teachings of the Islam about the war and, and the ethics and the rules and regulations, and every religion, every civilization, people, the modern times, they are following the teachings of Islam as well. Political ethics is the practices of making moral judgment about political actions and political agents, and how to run the government, how to make the government, and what are the rules and regulations, how to uh, to 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 work for the welfare of the humanity, welfare of the citizen, and welfare of the country. Public sector ethics is a set of principles that guide public officials in their services to their constituents, including their decision making on behalf of their constituents. Decision and action are based on what best serves the public interest, opposed to the official's personal interest. So, this is ethics that would applied in the interest of the public for the benefit of the public. Publication ethics is the set of principles that guide the writing and publishing process of all professional publications. Authors must verify the publication of way to avoid misconduct in research. These principles can also apply to experiments that are analyzed in publication by ensuring the data is recorded honestly and accurately, and there must not be plagiarized and not be copied. So there are ethics, there are rules and regulation. We find and we follow the rules of publication of your research and doing of your research. Relational ethics is related to the ethics of care used in qualitative research, especially ethnography, as researchers who employ relational ethics value or respect the connection between themselves, community in which they live and work, and developing friendship with their participants. Relational ethics is close personal relationship from a central concept of contextual therapy. So this is very. Animal ethics is term used in academia to describe human-animal relationship and how animals are to be treated. Subject matter includes animal rights, animal welfare, animal law, animal cognition, wildlife conservation, the moral status of the non-human animal, the concepts of no human personhood, the history of the human use as theories of the justice. So this is very simple. Moral psychology is a field of study that began as an issue in philosophy that is now properly considered part of discipline of psychology. The study of moral development, the intersection of ethics, uh, psychology and philosophy of mind, involvement of mind in moral issues, moral responsibility, moral development, moral character. Evolutionary ethics concern approaches to ethics based on the role of evolution in shaping human psychology and behavior, focus on understanding and explaining, observe ethical preference and choices. Descriptive ethics is on less philosophical end of spectrum, gather particular information about how people live and draw general conclusion based on observed patterns. So this is very. Descriptive ethics refers to a value-free approach to ethics, define it as social science rather than a humanity. The study of descriptive ethics may include examination of following ethical codes applied by various groups, some considered aesthetics itself the basis of ethics. Informal theories of etiquette that tend to be less rigorous and more situational ethics to this view is more a summary of common sense social decisions. So, practice in arbitration and law, for example, the claim that the ethics itself a matter of balancing right versus right. Observe choices are made by ordinary people without expert aid or advice who vote, buy, and decide what is worth valuing. This is major concern of sociology, political science, and economics.